Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And today we're going to review, yes, cover B of The Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, which is an odd one. I mean, I love that title. It's one of those things where it just kind of intrigues me of what the hell the comic book is actually about, because that title really doesn't tell you much at all. And then when I start looking at the artwork, I start thinking to myself, this could be something that interests me, because it is an unusual style of artwork. Basically, what you have is an awful lot of very, very simple lines, but an awful lot of detail missing. And the facial kind of stuff is just a little bit unusual. In fact, all of it is just a little bit unusual. It's far more stylized than realistic, but that never bothers me at all. It doesn't quite like veer into unwatchable. Everything still makes sense in its own way, and it's got a good internal consistency to it, but it is odd. It's the kind of thing where I would happily recommend it to somebody if they'd already kind of expressed an interest in reading outside of the box, like if they hadn't just done nothing but Marvel and DC. Because it feels far more indie than I expected something for Image to put out. Don't get me wrong, Image is still well known to be one of the largest independent comic book producers out there. They're basically still all creator-owned, which is where a lot of smaller ones are now. And that gives them the freedom to effectively do what they want. I've recently found out even like page count is up to the creators. The price on it stays like what it's going to be, and their cover stays the same. But if they want to do an extra 10 pages and take a pay cut per page, they can do that. And it's kind of nice that they have that option. So when you're going to do something where you've got like a very distinct, unusual art style, Image is certainly kind of place which would take a look at it and give it a shot. Not to say they have to accept everything. And I'm glad they have accepted this one, because it's also weird, kind of adorable, really funny, and messed up at the same time. The plot is basically about this guy, Trigger Keaton, who is an absolute... Sorry, I'm getting rugby messages coming through all the time now. He's an absolute horrible human being. I was about to swear there. Who has survived making movies for quite some time. He's been on a 25-year contract. He's trained in like 6 martial arts, like one of the most dangerous men alive. And as such, he can basically act how he wants because he doesn't fear anybody. And throughout his career, he's burnt bridges and alienated people. There's been reports on set of him being an absolute monster to work with, abusive behavior, bullying, all that kind of thing. And at some point, he is found hanging from the neck dead. But his most current sidekick number 6, thinks there may be foul play. And at the funeral, the 5 other sidekicks turn up. And this is something that I really quite enjoyed, actually. I've gone on before about putting a gang together or putting a team together in a comic book, and how it can slow things right down. You can spend more than one issue on it without really advancing the plot. If you are advancing the plot, it's in dribs and drabs, because each character deserves its own time in the spotlight. This does it in a slightly different way. Sidekick 6 gets a little bit more attention because he's like a character that's contemporary to the story taking place. And the other ones, their first appearances are turning up for a funeral. But you have them arrive out of order. It's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have a little paper clipping of their first appearance with Trigger Keaton, usually in his famous TV show or movie series, Martial something or other. Martial art, that's it. I was going to say martial law, but it isn't. Martial art. Terrible name. But then the other clipping next to it is how it all ended, and it's usually violent and terrible, and you'd be amazed that anyone wants to work with him. And that's the general feeling you get at the funeral, that most people think he's a horrible human being. Sidekick number 2, who replaces Sidekick number 1 because he was not very good, is one of the few people actually used to like him. Sidekick number 6, while not being his biggest fan, at least kind of wants to figure out what happened to him. And then it becomes a story of these kind of like warring personalities and how they are going to figure out a way to work together to solve a murder, or at least suspected a murder at this point. The police are not interested at all. And it's got some just genuinely cool moments in it. The writing is superb. It verges from absolute hammy, over-the-top B-movie, late-night Bravo TV stuff to genuinely cool, cutting kind of sharp wittedness to it. It's not for everyone, though. Artwork to one side, yes, it's an unusual art style, and it certainly is to a certain taste, shall we say. But it falls into a certain packet of comic books been coming out recently where one of the main characters within it is not a nice person. Scumbag instantly comes to mind. There's a few others. Chicho, I think, has all been one that come to mind. And Trigger Keaton is absolutely terrible. But it's weirdly, it's not about him, but he is going to be casting such a long shadow that there has to be a point of coming to terms with who he is. And I'd like to see how that goes. But it's not an easy one to like. If you can get past the terrible character, but not terrible characterization, brilliant characterization, then I think there is gems beneath this one. And I thoroughly enjoyed my first issue of it. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'll be back tomorrow with another review, but I'm way over time here. Take it easy, everyone. Stay safe. Bye. Alexa.